Hello and welcome to the Foodeshow. Today we'll be discussing another great panel discussion about how Industry 4.0 helps you gain time and productivity. With us, two panelists, two very good speakers. We have Khalid Mushat from Morocco. He is the CEO of P&W Technologies. Hello, Khalid.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. And we have Sasha. I'm not going to say your last name because I don't want to kill it. I'll let you do that. And he's a good friend of mine, and he's a European consultant for anything that is robotic and IoT. Hi, Sasha.
Hi, hello. My name is Sasha Jevtic.
Jevtic. I'm not going to say that. Okay, I'm going to be great. So I want you to tell us your story. Introduce yourself the way you see best. And since Sasha is already have the microphone on, go ahead, Sasha.
So shortly, my name is Sasha Jevtic. I come from Slovenia, a very small country with 2 million population. Now I presently live for 3 years in Germany, and for most of my life I'm involved with robotics, security robotics, service robotics. I did also an underwater robotics, and I am also serving as an expert for European Commission for the factories of the future, which means how factories of the future will look like, and that definitely includes Industry 4.0, automatization, big data, artificial intelligence, and user friendliness of the advanced systems.
Great. Thank you very much, Sasha. And Khalid?
Hello, everyone. My name is Heidi and I run P&W Technologies, which is a digital transformation company. But previously, I have run several other companies. One of them is ecosytem, which is a hardware company, a direct-to-consumer hardware company of trading. I am an embedded systems trained engineer, so I am well-versed into Industry 4.0 from a manufacturing perspective, but also from a systems perspective.
Great. Thank you both for this introduction. So we understand that Industry 4.0 is the fourth industrial revolution, and it's affecting us very fast because the third one and the fourth one were very short. So now, how companies within the food industry, whether it's in manufacturing, processing, transportation, all the way to the consumer, can gain time and productivity, and using which technologies, or how about to do that? Sasha?
Yes, so there are many ways. It's a little bit a complex topic, but let's say foremost, what the Industry 4.0 can bring, that is, so first of all, recording of the data, so gathering of the data from the various aspects from your business. Once this data is gathered, it can be a huge amount of data. From this data, you can learn. You can learn based on the past experience, and you can also make predictions about the future trends. So, and you can include expert knowledge from every single domain to see how you can then how you can turn this data into the future trends, or how you can do that for the future prospects. I would say also so that once it's a many difficult aspects. So artificial intelligence, data gathering, then you have the big data analytics, then you have also future forecasting. You can also have optimization. Let's say one of the most important aspects in every business is optimization of the business. So every person or every business individual thinks they know how the business works, and they understand the principles. But once they start gathering data and they start analyzing data, they can see that there is a lot of room for improvement in a sense of optimization of the both costs of their own processes that they are taking into the account. So Industry 4.0 brings all this to the table. But on one side, you have complexity. On the other side, you would like to get rid of the complexity. This means the systems should be integrated and they should be user-friendly. So the engine behind all this could be extremely complex and could need really advanced experts could really means the latest stages of the technologies, but the user interfaces and the how these old technologies interacts with the customer should be extremely simple, meaning that you don't need to have really advanced experts in order to use this system, in order to have an effect from this system.
Great. Thank you, Sasha. And I turn now to Khalid to let us know what he thinks about that topic.
Sure. On my end, just to continue a little bit on what Sasha said, we've had this this trend lately, especially for highly complex environments or industries where we work on a digital twin. So basically, from manufacturing to logistics to different processing to integration, we have a lot of moving parts, and to be able to track all of it and to have it into one integrated data system where all the dependencies are clear, we understand where issues are, we understand how we can make it more efficient. You need to have a digital twin, which is basically a digital representation of each and every component of the integrated system. So, for example, the factory, every single machine in the factory has data sensory or data reporting type integrated into it, so that it tells us at every single point in time what what's its situation, how is it processing whatever it is supposed to be processing, if there is any errors, if there's any issues, if there's a predictability of it running out of power or having electricity or mechanical issues. So all of this added to the runtime of logistics and transportation coming in and going out, the delivery to end consumer. When you gather all of these into one system, we call it a digital twin. So in food processing and in the food industry in general, especially for the most integrated and complex environments, this has been quite an interesting way of making it more efficient and introducing it into the smart factory and industry 4.0. The second element on this side, and again, to continue on what Sasha said, which is once you get to the consumer, all of this backend things shouldn't show. And the more integrated the system is, the easier it is to predict even consumer behavior or customer behavior. And it gives you the possibility to, once you get an insight into consumer behavior, it translates very, very fast to the production line, which hasn't been the case ever in the history of food production. If for a supermarket, for example, if you're selling your produce in a supermarket, the supermarket needed to do their reporting by end of month or end of trimester, and then they get it to the producer, where the producer would understand, okay, this is what happened in this trimester, and they would try to guess how the consumer will behave later. Now, if we have a fully integrated production and distribution system, once the consumer picks up a product, that information is reported and is transmitted in real time to the company that produces that product, and so that you can get in real time that tally and understand consumer behavior much better.
Great. I believe Sasha had an experience with those kind of robotics and giving information. It was more for security, but it could be applied as well to understanding consumers in the supermarket. So Sasha, it could be something big, huh? It could be something big. So going back into the how to gain in time and productivity, I understand that you can create a twin of your factory where you can monitor all the aspects of it. But what I understood is from Sasha is it is resolving a very complex product and try to make it as integrated as possible. Right, Sasha?
Yes, and the point is also very important, is as simple as possible to be used, because if you cannot use it or you don't understand it, you don't understand the results of it, then nothing big was made. So for instance, when you gather a big quantities of data and you analyze that, so you analyze it with very complex algorithms, but user perhaps just want to know they just want to know basic statistics about his business, and he does not care which artificial intelligence algorithms we have used, how we integrated the data, how we gathered the data. He would just like to know, the business owner would like to know more business side of the statistics or on the information. The maintenance guy would like to know what's going on with his machines, how to do it. Perhaps the shift owner or the shift manager would like to know if all the processes are going as well, and they don't need to know how complex the system behind is. So user friendliness is one of the key aspects how this industry will pick up in the future.
So when it comes to implementing the getting into this new revolution, what is the right mindset, and how does a company starts about to do that? Khalid, some of them are way behind. They're not into the third revolution yet. And so how can you move from 2 to 4 in a leap of time, and why?
What we've noticed, especially in Africa, where we've worked for quite some time, is the leapfrog, I would call it a phenomenon, is where by necessity, and necessity, as we say in Arabic, but I'll translate it, necessity is the mother of invention. So the phenomenon of leapfrog has been quite interesting in Africa, and the example that's most cited is the unbanked in Kenya just went and skipped the banking system to the fully distributed financial system, which is mobile money through M-Pesa. So for the cultural change, when we're confronted, or mostly businesses are confronted to this harsh reality that people overseas or companies overseas have leaps and bounds of advancements over them from a technological perspective and from a cultural integration perspective, they have to not go through the process as it advanced along time, but skip to the last conclusion. It's a very big cultural shock, obviously. So you need someone to help you manage that cultural change, and that to manage that change and to enable all of the stakeholders within your company to be comfortable enough with the technology, the difference in culture, the difference in processes, the difference in interactions, but also that you could onboard all of them into one unified vision that you specifically have for the company moving forward, understanding that it's a lot of the transformation that needs to happen. It needs to happen. It's not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have, especially for companies that want to still keep moving forward, no matter how much they think their community, environment, or market is late compared to other markets in developed environments, because that's what we've noticed in other countries where they just jumped a few steps in the evolution or technology evolution way, and they skipped directly from the 2.0 to the 4.0.
Great. So, Sasha, do you think that because COVID-19 and this pandemic has been an accelerator in many ways in adoption of a lot of technologies, and we are doing a virtual show, we are communicating more via technologies, and do you think is the situation is going to change on the manufacturing or the distribution side of business to adopt the newest technologies, because obviously the margins are getting smaller. You have to stay competitive to be able to survive. If you can elaborate on this part of thing, and like I understand that the more integrated you are, the more you analyze the data, like you said, and you know exactly what you want, the more efficient and cost effective you will be.
I think that this is going to happen in any case. So this kind of things like COVID could perhaps boost, but it's inevitable. I could give an analogy from the security. Perhaps 15 years ago, the 90% or more of the market were the analog cameras and analog technologies. When the IP came, was too expensive. Was too difficult, too much of the new knowledge was needed to put it. But so expense was definitely a big barrier. But in time, everybody knew back then, also the analytics. It is not if we will switch to the IP cameras and the IP security technologies, is only the matter of when. And so on one side, you had, of course, price, which always plays a big role. And the second was the acceptance. Acceptance is both in terms of what this technology can do, and acceptance is both that you are ready as a company or as an entity that you can really use this technology. So it's not enough to say I have an IP camera, it has a more pixels or something. It's what is the consequence of this? I don't know that over the IP camera you can start running analytics. With analytics you can get some information, with analog you could not get it, and so on. So, and this changed. So it went from the analog to now mostly IP digital world. With this is exactly the same. It's not if, it's just a matter of when. And there are barriers. Barriers are exactly the same as a name. So first, of course, is the price. If you cannot afford it, you will go slowly as you will be pushed into it, or you will not make it at the end. From the technology, if you don't understand it, how to apply, if you don't even understand it, how to start a discussion about it, how to put it, it's also very difficult. So you also need to educate yourself, and you need to educate your people in order to start adopting. And of course, adopting the 4.0 is not like you don't have now anything and then you are going to go full 4.0, but like you said, you already have the computers, you already have some softwares, but now you would like to integrate your software that you run your company with some software which runs your warehouse, with your payment software, with your scheduling maintenance software, depending the type of industry that you are. And already this integration takes an effort. Once this integration takes place and you make initial investments, you start building on top of these initial investments, and you then also slowly start to realize what bigger potential lie behind this. If I would sell another simple example, I don't know, but let's just say it's not so much 4.0, but let's say, so when you have logistics companies, of course, when you introduce novelties like tracking of the trucks or tracking fleet management, the owner mostly said, but I know where my trucks are. I know how many kilometers they make to the destination. I know how much fuel they consume monthly. I know all these facts. I know how much stop. But then the guy simply said, why don't you just try it? Just put this tracking of the fleet on your trucks and let me know. What they found out was really big. They found out that some truckers are driving illegally more hours than they should. They found that some truckers are stopping on the way to pick up some other goods, or are making detours from this tour that they should take. Initially, they found out that they could save up to few percentage of the fuel on the time, and they could really optimize their business. Before that was not possible. But you see, they thought they know everything about their business because they were in the business for many years. But it turned out with the data and analysis of this data, they saw that there is a much room of the improvement. And to go wider, Industry 4.4 is exactly that. Once you think you understand your business, once you will have the data, once you will be able to give your insight as an expert on the data, and once the patterns from this data will occur with the different algorithms, you will be able to understand your business much more. You will be able to make predictions, and you will be able to run your business more efficiently. If I would give, let's say, the example from the agriculture, let's say that you have a robot which picks the tomato. And you can learn the system, what is exactly the tomato that you want to pick, what is the color, what is the size that you want to pick, but you don't want to pick the others. But you could learn it, what is still very green, what is already maturing, and what is next to be matured. And when the first picking up is done by the robot, this analysis could be sent and said that next perfect opportunity to pick for the next big round, which is X amount of tons, would be in X amount of days, because we picked up all the ones that should be picked up, but we made also analysis when others should be, or when others should mature to be picked up next. So in this kind of sense, so you have the knowledge, but there is more to be gained once you automate the processes, or once you give it additional knowledge.
Great. So in that regard as well, Khalid, do you have any examples on how we can use the new technology as well as the software? You were in the hardware, I'm the software part of it. And what kind of use cases can you share with us in how really to gain in time and productivity? Because I know it's the mindset has to be there, wanting to resolve a problem has to be there. So how can we convince people that are watching us today to cross over and try to think about it in a serious and organized manner?
So on my end, honestly, we've had to, manage this with quite a few clients where, I mean, it's really awesome to find some clients that are not only aware of the need for the transformation, but they also already have some type of implemented basic intelligence, whether it's software or hardware, and then that you would kind of build up on it, or at least have them be understanding of what a transformation is. Sometimes we go to clients where they're more pushed by by noticing that the competition is using technology instead of them that aren't. And they don't have specifically, or they can't express a need, but they want to first understand why are they being outperformed by these other companies that have implemented technological solutions or that have digitally transformed into Industry 4.0, or they want to understand how they can make their business better, and that's where we come in to try to help them out. Obviously by benchmarking first what these other companies are doing. And for example, I'll give the example of rhubarb, or it's a vegetable that you can create sweet or sugar out of. And since it's been planted in a very large, very very different environment, throughout Morocco, for example, we needed to be able to monitor the quality of the earth where they're planting it. So what we needed to do is have a sensor that, it's a sensor that has several measures inside it, and that gave us basically the understanding of when the soil had to be watered, when it needed more nutrients, when it needed plowing, etc., etc. And then what we did is basically give a very simple interface to the agricultures, which are not typically very technology friendly, and we try to reframe it in the sense that it's basically like they're using WhatsApp. So what we tell them is, you have WhatsApp, you use it with your children, with your grandchildren, so you're used to using it. So what we did is basically a voice bot that would send them a voice message from their land telling them that I need to be watered. and a little advice: I should be watered after 5 p.m. This is a very simple example of how to translate the very complex process that we need to implement and able to understand and predict what needs to be predicted to make the the agricultural scene better, and to help the production of our sugar processor at the end of the line. So it's the sugar processor that actually provided the agriculturers with this solution to enable them first to have the same or close quality of the rhubarb that they're getting, and at the same time have a very simple way of getting the agriculturers on board of this technological solution. I tell them basically, you have this little thing that you put inside the soil in your plantation, and you send us your phone number. The hardware communicates with the server. The server sends these voice messages to the farmer. So this is an example of what we would have implemented across the board.
It's very interesting because, like you said, usually agriculture and farming, especially traditional farming, has never been very technological, and now we get into resolve big matters. And there's one thing that really impresses me about the food industry in general. So the food industry is very much into traceability, and there's a lot of traceability that is done by hand in papers that people need to process one more time, and verify one more time to finally be stored. And if you need an information, do you think that it's something that will gain in time and productivity for food manufacturer? I'm just going into the examples. Sasha?
Definitely. I always like to explain this example. This let's say food industry is similar in the terms like the security industry, in the terms that it's more, let's call it, traditional and a little bit slow adapters. When you are dealing with the food or agriculture, you want to be safe, or you want to stick to what you know that works. The same like with the security, but all these changes are simply you cannot prevent it. They are going to happen. So the way here is how to present them, how to show the benefits to the end users that they could improve. Again, if an agriculture which has a field believes he already knows how to do with the potato everything, or tomato, he's sure what he does, it needs to be demonstrated on a very nice and user-friendly way that he could boost for 10% his crop production, or that he could be 10% faster on the market, despite his knowledge, that his knowledge is not in competition with that knowledge, but his knowledge will still be pretty much required. But all these systems or all these solutions can support him to make the decision faster and more accurate. And with this, he will increase his productivity, or he or she. So John Deere made this, I think I explained already once on this one session chat. John Deere had a good idea. We want to make robotic combines and robotic tractors, and it's a great idea. So why would somebody sit for hours and hours when you can automate this? But they did not count that they are presenting to the people who all their lives were sitting on the combine or tractor, and they believe they are the only ones who can do this with tractor. So when they came and say, hey guys, we have this great solution, now your combine is going to be a robot, he's going to move alone, work instead of you, there was a big skepticism, and they said, no, thank you. I trust myself. I'm doing that for so many years. And then they had to turn it around. They had to make a lot of demonstration and show that you can sit on your porch drinking your iced tea or wine or whatever, and just check on your laptop how much percent is already being plowed or fertilized by this technology. And once they saw this, and once they understand it, and once they saw that this is actually not a competition, or this is improving their lifestyle, and it's more accurate than when they do it, because if you have miles and miles of fields, you can sleep behind this, because imagine these big fields in the United States or in Ukraine, or you are sitting for hours and hours and hours, and if you fall asleep, you can be plowing the same area again, or missing a huge amount of areas with plowing or with fertilizing or so on. So there could be a significant losses, and they found out that this way this process is much more optimized. But even despite that, it's still a hard sell at the moment. It's still hard bargaining. One is the price again; it's not so cheap, and the second is trusting those systems. But they will come. It's not possible that they will not. They will come absolutely, and that's for sure. When exactly is, I think, when the majority of the people will adopt it, then everybody else will start following. So now we have the early adopters, like in any industry, and we have the people who are experimenting, not perhaps with the whole system, but the parts of the system. But this knowledge is then increasing, and these people are meeting together, and in this case, it will simply start. Transferring or proliferating in this sector too.
Great, Khalid, and we're almost at the end of it. If you had to give one advice to these people that are not yet considering adopting new technologies, and what would be your advice? And then I'll move on to Sasha before closing.
My advice would be that always, never say no to try. At least I understand that it's a very hard, it's very hard to change your habits. It's very hard to come out of your comfort zones. You have done the business the way you've done it for decades, maybe even your parents and grandparents have been doing it the same way for you. However, with the change of things, try to consider experimenting first before committing to things. That's the first one. And the second one, it doesn't have to be that scary. Technology is just a tool to help you do better and to help your business be better. So there is no reason to fear it, and you're as relevant, if not even more, with technology than without it.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you very much. Now, Sasha, what would be
your
advice?
I would first of all say to have an open mind. So a few things I'm going to say is going to be perhaps a repetition of what Khalid said, but that's exactly the point. You should have an open mind, and you don't need to jump immediately to this. You don't need to go full Monty. You don't need to now start immediately planning. But what you can do is, and it's simple, you can be open-minded, you can educate yourself. You can see what people have already done. You can talk to them. You can visit technology shows. As Khalid said, it's not your competitor. It is there. It's a tool to assist you. So you have to have the knowledge about your business. You need to know how this business is done. This is just the tool to enhance, optimize, that you have better results than you had, and this will give you a competitive edge. You don't need to start with all the equipment, with the robots, but you could start with the measuring sensors. You could start with the small things, and then you could convince yourself with also educating at your side at the same time how this really helps you. And how you will use it, it's always up to you. You need to know your market. You need to know who the players are. You need to know how you already sell your product or how you produce it. These are only the tools to help you be better. So open mind, and at the start, just educate yourself, and then slowly go in deeper and deeper.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your insight with us. I am reminding all our viewers, if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask your questions for a live session. And if you want a network, you can always get in touch with Khalid or Sasha on the application, whether it's web or mobile. Thank you very much, and happy networking.